I now invite Mr. Ulric Warner, Vice President, Human Resources, Atlantic LNG.
To talk about how we leverage the value of people for strategic efficiency, to use my organization as the example of some of the things that we do. I believe it's the kind of thing that gives a real life situation in terms of how people become important. It's critical to understand that in any organization, if you want to get the best out of people, you have to put something into it. And I would say that at Atlantic, we aren't there as yet, but we are working our way to being there. So how did we get there? And we just start with some work that we've been doing recently, which we call our Aspiration. And just trying to make sure I have the... Good. What is the aspiration of Atlantic? We say we inspire and enable our people in delivering global pace-setting performance, creating opportunities now and for future generations. What is critical about this aspiration, as you recognize, it speaks nothing to gas, but it speaks to delivering global pace-setting performance for now and future generations. In other words, what we are saying is that in terms of the people we have to work with and in terms of the capacity that we'll build in our home community, we are hoping that future generations will benefit from what we are doing. And there are a number of ways in which we are, in fact, seeking to do that by the time 2013 comes around. So how did we intend to do that? Well, we said our strategy would be to build capacity and the development of our talent pool, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But more than that, we wanted to make sure we use our people to ensure that we have the right technical competence and the plant knowledge, and we also want to ensure that we focus on learning, talent management, training and development. And more than that, we wanted to ensure that people who pass through our plant would be certified not only in Trinidad and Tobago, but also in the Caribbean. And one of the things that we were able to do in a very short space of time, between 2007 and now, is that we have been able to become a certified provider from the National Training Agency of what is called the Trinidad and Tobago National Vocational Education. So that any trainee passing through Atlantic as a company, once you pass through and do our training, you become certified to be able to work at any industry throughout Trinidad and Tobago. But I want to focus really on the people strategy and how we did that. First we need to do is almost like a SWOT analysis, recognizing what is happening there. And so we had to pay attention to the external environment. And if you note the first point there, lack of experience and qualified technical operations personnel, competition for scarce skills. And we also noted at the time that we did this that there was a significant growth of new plants and we needed to have retention strategies in place. Now, one of the interesting things that has happened at Atlantic as we started to grow our people is that we weren't only losing them to people or plants in Trinidad and Tobago, we are losing them to plants around the world. Interestingly, just last week, we had a visit by one of our former employees. And here what was interesting. He was poached by Qatar LNG, so he went to work in Qatar. And then while he was there, he literally took about 3 of our employees into Qatar. But more than that, within a short space of time of his being in Qatar, he was poached by Angola LNG. And so now he actually works out of Angola LNG and brought Angola LNG into Trinidad to have a look at the operations because we are in fact really very good. So you have to build competency. What is competency? Knowledge, skills, and the application of those, which will allow you to know whether people are at the basic level, which is at the awareness level, or at the mastery level. And for every organization, if you are to get the best out of your people, you have to put in place systems to ensure that where there are gaps, they are filled. Okay? And we address that through two particular systems. One is called Competency Development, and one is called Competency Management Assurance. And just quickly to take you through that. In terms of the development, what it is, it's a web-based tool which enables employees to assess their skill levels in general and specific areas applicable to their function. And this is done in a very structured way. It's a computer-based. This development process is self-driven, and the endorsement by supervisors provide information that can improve development conversations, resulting in aligned learning and development. So you have a tool. And what it says, you sit and you literally go through this tool to determine where you are. Now you can tell a tale and say you're at the top, okay? But a discerning supervisor who also has to go in and also assess you on the tool will also tell you you are not at the level that you think that you are at. And therein you will see the gaps. Once the gaps are identified, you then have to develop the learning or the development programs to assist in that. So that's on the development side. There's also what is called competency at the assurance side, and which is what we call competency and management assurance systems. This speaks to the specific skills that it takes to operate the plant. You're either competent to operate the plant or you're not competent to operate the plant. Okay? And what it does, it looks at the profile of the job. So if we were to take the plant from the front end, and we were to say the front end of the plant is the utilities section, how competent is that employee to operate the utilities section? So you go through a process of training and evaluation by an external evaluator. And that evaluator will say, as far as the utilities part of the plant, you are competent. There's a greater career avenue and clarity for individuals. So you know you can move from an engineer 1 to a technical authority within the engineering stream. And we have done all of that from the development aspect. Similarly, movement in the operator group, that is your Tech 1, Tech 2s going up to your Tech 4s. Through the assurance system, you cannot move from a Tech 3 to a Tech 4 unless you are competent to operate that aspect of the plant. I'll tell you some of the challenges we have found is that in an earlier stage of the organization where promotions were quite fast and the system didn't have the level of rigor as we're using, we have people who moved up to the top level, but guess what? Under a plant upset, they'll say, not him. Okay? In other words, even within the group, people recognize that we have people who are up there, but don't put them to operate the plant or to be in charge if there are issues. They may be able to work it on a normal, non-crisis operation. And what you want to do is to be sure that your people who are so critical to the success of your business are capable of delivering for you where your business is concerned. The benefit of the whole competency system also supports the functional agenda of the business and pinpoints areas where the company may want to invest in its resources. So what we have done is that we said, look, as we attempt to build on competency, we will do it in many ways. Through the in-house learning and development, we'll also second people to our shareholders. Okay? So up to last week, we seconded someone. We have people at Repsol in Spain. We have people at BG. We have people at BP. Okay? So we second people. And more than that, when we bring in expats now, rather than they coming in for a holiday, the first thing you tell them, hey, you are a guest of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, because some of them didn't understand that. Okay?